What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated, 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered the #1 pound-for-pound boxer in the world, has been the subject and the topic of the boxing sporting world. He just recently beat and defeated former IBF welterweight world champion British superstar boxer Special K KELL BROOK, November 14th, 2 Saturdays ago. With that said, everybody is interested to see what's next for Terence Bud Crawford, as Terence Bud Crawford has been feuding publicly with his promoter, legendary promoter, top-ranked CEO, Bob Arum, who Bob Arum stated that he has lost more money on Terence Bud Crawford in the last 3 fights or so, so much so that he could build a mansion in Beverly Hills. That's what Bob Arum had to say. Terence Bud Crawford responded to that by saying, if Bob Arum don't like me and don't think I'm marketable and don't think I'm useful to his company, don't think I'm an asset to his company, then let me go immediately. Don't wait for the big fight between me and myself and undefeated unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer Errol Spence Jr., who Terence Crawford is linked to, right? And so he said, don't wait for that big money fight to take place before you cut bait with me. Just go ahead and cut ties with me, and I don't need top rank to build these fights. Bob Arum then doubled down. Bob Arum stated that he's done promoting Terence Crawford in a vacuum. He's done with it. He says it's difficult to deal with. He says that he don't like how Terence Crawford's lawyer, went public with the comments that was made regarding them not being expressing their unhappiness and the fact that they have yet to secure and lock down a legacy, big, high-profile money fight for Terence Crawford in his career. Bob Arum says that could have been done behind closed doors like men do, but they took it public, so now I'm going to take it public. And he pretty much doubled down on his comments. With that said, Bob Arum stated that Terence Crawford doesn't want to make other big fights. He only solely is focused on facing 8-division world champion, legendary, iconic Filipino superstar boxer who's currently the WBA welterweight world champion, Manny Pacquiao, Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, and Errol Spence Jr. Bob Arum alluded to the fact that when brought to the table about a possibility of fighting former unified WBC, WBA welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith one-time Thurman, or 2-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer Showtime Sean Porter, or currently the WBA regular champion Yordenis Ugas, or Danny Swift Garcia, who is now a 2-division world champion, former unified and junior welterweight, who was the WBC welterweight world champion, now is fighting Errol Spence Jr. December 5th next weekend in a huge fight on pay-per-view. He stated that Terence Crawford is reluctant to make those fights. He said he had a hard time getting Terence Crawford to sign the contract and agree to face KELL BROOK. It's abundantly clear that Terence Crawford feels like he wants these big fights. But Terence Crawford's pride and Terence Crawford's stubbornness, at least in the public eye, is that he continues to push off these fights as if he don't need these fights, right? But it's abundantly clear that Terence Crawford is not happy that he's not getting these big fights. Bob Arum said that Terence Crawford needed to promote himself like Floyd Mayweather did, like Oscar De La Hoya and Miguel Cotto did, like Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson, and the current crop of boxers that he have today, like they do today. He said, Terence Crawford, I'm not going to go broke trying to promote a guy who don't want to promote himself. And Terence Crawford says one thing, but his actions show another, okay? What happens with Terence Crawford, at least in the public eye, is that Terence Crawford says, I don't need these fights. But behind closed doors, deep down, he knows he wants these fights. So I made a video, and I said this, the worst thing you could do as a man in life, or anybody, is live with regret. Terence Crawford knows when he hangs it up that he wants to secure these fights. But in the public eye, he acts like he don't need these fights. That's the wrong approach, because this is dealing with business, okay? So Terence Crawford is stating, I never needed Errol Spence. I don't need Errol Spence for my legacy. I never did. So why is your lawyer contacting Top Rank and the big wigs at Top Rank and telling them that expressing their displeasure with the fact that you can't secure a big legacy money fight. If you don't need the biggest fight that can be made in the sport of boxing overall is yourself, Terence Crawford, and Errol Spence Jr. But you tell the world, I don't need Errol Spence. Of course you need Errol Spence, right? So if you're unhappy with not securing the big fights, then you would let it go by the wayside and you wouldn't have a tug of war or a feud going on with Bob Arum and Top Rank, because it doesn't matter to you either which way it goes if you secure it or not. So why are you contacting Bob Arum and telling him you are not happy with the fact that you have yet to secure a legacy fight and a big money fight? The biggest money fight you can make is Errol Spence. And then you go down the ladder, okay? It's the pecking order. Then you will have to go to Manny Pacquiao, right? Manny Pacquiao seems to have no interest in making a fight. Bob Arum has been promising Terence Crawford since 2014 a Manny Pacquiao fight. Now get this now, because I was going to make a video about this and I still might. Terence Crawford says he wants to revisit and he's still pursuing Manny Pacquiao fight. But yet, this fight between him and Errol Spence has been short. It hasn't been going on as long as the Manny Pacquiao Terence Crawford saga. This saga is much shorter. But Terence Crawford says, I'm done with the Errol Spence. If it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. He says, I used to be enamored by it. I used to be excited by it, by the thought of fighting Errol Spence in a big fight. I'm no longer at that point. Now I'm to the point actually where, it's dull for me. I don't even need to fight. I don't want to fight, right? I'm not that happy about making a fight. But you are still, and because he's saying, there's a lot of hoops that's and hurdles and roadblocks being put in the way that he got to maneuver around. So he's saying that is growing stale with him. But in the same token, you're still chasing a fight with Manny Pacquiao, who's been knocked out 3 times in his career. He's been outclassed and outboxed twice by Eric Morales and Floyd Mayweather. He has multiple losses on his record. But you're still chasing a fight with him. This has been since 2014. Bob Arum has been saying that he's going to make a fight between Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao. So Terence Crawford essentially has been chasing this fight since 2014. That is 7 years by the time the fight comes to fruition, because it's definitely not going to happen until mid-2021, if it ever happens. So this has started since 2014. And every year since 2014, since he beat Thomas Delorme, this has been talked about. Bob Arum has been talking about this as a possibility. So every year, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, and still in 2020, Terence Crawford and Bob Arum are saying that they're trying to secure a fight with Manny Pacquiao for 2021. So you're not tired of chasing Manny Pacquiao for 7 years, almost a decade, okay? Right? You're closer to a decade than you're not. So you're closer to chasing Manny Pacquiao for a decade, a man that's 40 years old. Multiple losses, been knocked out. But when we talk about having a fight between yourself and Errol Spence, who Errol Spence today's time is a bigger draw than Manny Pacquiao. Now you put Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao together, and together they're going to be even bigger, right? They're going to make a bigger splash. But either one of them with Terence Crawford, it's not a bigger fight than them coming together. So if Errol Spence was to fight Manny Pacquiao, become a 2-time unified champion, would be a 3-belt holder, he would be the WBA, IBF, and WBC champion, and would have done a successful pay-per-view, he's arguably the biggest star in the sport of boxing, okay? Manny Pacquiao, vice versa. It's just the cherry on top, right? He's just adding to the mountain that's already built. Okay, the legacy is already built for Manny Pacquiao. He don't need either Manny Pacquiao doesn't need Terence Crawford or Errol Spence Jr. Okay, they more so need him and his accolades, his legacy, and his belt for their legacy. He don't need them. He could choose not to ever fight either one of them. And it seems like he's on the verge of either fighting 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer Mikey Garcia, or he's on the verge of facing Conor McGregor, UFC superstar, in his next fight. Okay? So with that said, You don't mind pursuing Manny Pacquiao for 7 years, but you're telling the world you're tired of the talk between you and Errol Spence that's roughly been just brewing for the better part of maybe 2 years. And so you're already done with Errol Spence fight, but you're chasing Manny Pacquiao for 7 years, a guy that's 40 years old and been knocked out 3 times, got outclassed and outboxed twice, has multiple losses on his resume and draws. You're pursuing this guy that's 40 years old, but you're telling the world that a guy that's 30 years old, who's unified, who's undefeated, and considered top 5 pound for pound with yourself, you're tired of pursuing him. You're tired of the talk of him. And if it happens, it happens. You take it, it's just, water off a duck's back at this point in time. You could take it or leave it. I'm confused with that. So let's just listen to what Terence Crawford recently had to say about, so now he's saying he's tired of calling out the upper echelon of the welterweight division because he's getting nowhere. And so he's saying that that's up to Bob Arum and his promotional team to make these fights. But he's no longer going to call out the upper echelon in the welterweight division. He says that time has passed. So now let's just listen to what he had to say. Quote, "Man, listen, I done called them out." He says, I'm not going to keep calling somebody out every time y'all put a camera in my face. I already did that. So there's no need to do it no more. Stop right there. There is always a need to promote yourself every time a camera's in your face because that's part of the promotion. That's part of building. That's how you get the revenue. That's how you maximize on your revenue. This is the business part that Terence Crawford seems to be missing. This is what Bob Arum is talking about. And again, I know a lot of people are blaming Bob Arum for these fights not coming to fruition, but you got to blame Terence Crawford 70-30 in favor of Terence Crawford for these fights not happening because Terence Crawford is unwilling to put his foot down and demand these fights. Okay, he's half demanding the fights. He sent his lawyer, and his lawyer contacted Top Rank and expressed like I said, that they're not happy with not securing these big fights. But then Terence Crawford comes right back and doubles behind them, right? Doubles back and says, "No, that's not the case. I'm willing to be loyal to Top Rank. I done took pay cuts for fighters who wasn't good. And I'm still willing to do so. I'm just looking to stay loyal to Top Rank and make all the money I can here at Top Rank, and securing these big fights don't matter." So which one is it? Your lawyer is speaking on the behalf that you're not happy with the outcome of you not securing these fights, but then you coming back and you saying, no, once Bob Arum gets upset, you want to smooth things over with Bob Arum instead of standing on your square and tell Bob Arum, well, and you want to make Bob Arum happy, so now you're saying, well, that's not totally true in its totality. Which one is it? So you see, now he's saying, well, every time you put a camera in my face, I'm not going to promote the fight. You have to promote the fight. You can't be upset that you're not getting these big fights on one hand, and then on the other hand, you are comfortable, right, and secure with not having these fights. Which one is it? Do you want the big fights or you don't? Okay? So now he's saying every time you put a camera in my face, I'm not going to call him. That's how you promote yourself. That's how you get the big fights. Okay, that's a part of capitalizing on and maximizing on as much revenue you possibly can. And it seems like Terence Crawford is missing that part. He wants his cake and eat it too, with something that's never been done. You've seen Miguel Cotto. You've seen Oscar De La Hoya. You've seen Mikey Garcia. You saw Floyd Mayweather. And now you see Manny Pacquiao amongst a few that had to leave Top Rank and Bob Arum to make these big fights. So you understand the blueprint that's in front of you. You want Bob Arum to suddenly turn around and do something that he's not and have never done on this level. You saw these guys leave, but you want to get the big money and stay loyal and stay with Top Rank. Comfortability is stronger than anything. Familiarity and comfortability is stronger than anything. And that's the place where Terence Crawford is. He's comfortable with where he's at. He don't want to uproot Bob Arum. He don't want to uproot Top Rank. But it's the same token, he wants these big fights. So instead, in return, he don't want to upset them. So he'll stay upset on the inside and say, well, I don't really need those big fights. But in the same token, he said, his lawyer's saying that behind closed doors, he's not happy with not getting these big fights. Which one is it? So now, he says, excuse me, he says, I already did that, so there's no need to do it no more. And if it gets made, it gets made. Like I said before, I'm not mad. I'm not sad. If it don't happen, it don't happen. You know, it's just the way cards roll. I wish the guys in the top welterweight all the best, so on and so forth, right? So this is what he said. But now, in the same token, keep in mind, his lawyer is saying something else, completely different, that he wants the big fights. And they're not happy with not securing these big fights. So then he goes on to say, they ask him now, listen to this, do you want Errol Spence more or do you want Manny Pacquiao? So this closed the door for the fans of Terence Crawford and the fan base that continue to say that why Errol Spence is not looking to fight him next. Errol Spence is avoiding Terence Crawford. Well, Terence Crawford is not jumping jumping for joy to make that fight happen next either. He says, when asked about who do you want more, Errol Spence or Manny Pacquiao, he says, I want Manny Pacquiao for sure. Of course, I want Manny Pacquiao more than I want Errol Spence. I want to revisit that fight. You know, that was the fight that should have happened right now. But being that the pandemic happened, that wasn't going to allow fans in the Middle East, so we had to put a hold to that. Everything was already 95% done. Now listen to this. It wasn't quite there. It was 95% done. It's done then, right? But then he says it wasn't quite there. He says that was the only thing that was the only thing that was waiting on. He's talking about the money. He says it was 95% done. We had the venue. The money was almost there. It wasn't quite there. What? I'm confused. The money was almost there, but it wasn't quite there. What money wasn't there? You had the venue. You had you had the venue already set. You had the investors in place. If you had the investors in place and you had the venue, then the money would be there already. What money is not there? What money wasn't there? The investors in the Middle East and the venue was already set. That means the money is gonna be there before you have the venue. When Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz was made, the money was already there. They just was trying to convince Andy Ruiz to come to the Middle East. So now he's saying they had the venue, they had the investors, but the money wasn't there. What money wasn't there? So then he goes on to say it was the pandemic that messed everything up, the border health, so on and such, right? But he's not in hot pursuit of these top welterweights, but he's in hot pursuit of Manny Pacquiao, and this has been going on since. Now you heard what he said. If it happens, it happens. I'm not mad. I never was, so on and such, right? This is what he's saying, that he was never sad or going to be upset if he couldn't secure the big fights. This is what Terence Crawford had to say, right? But you listen to his lawyer, and his lawyer says otherwise. His lawyer is speaking a whole different language. So that's where the disconnect comes in, and people wonder what's really, truly going on, right? Now, I know people could say, well, that's not for y'all to understand, so on and such, right? But here's what his lawyer had to say, right? It's Terence Crawford's relationship with Top Rank is reportedly strained, and Crawford's attorney sent a letter to the Top Rank airing grievances, including frustration at not having a big money breakthrough fight secured. It's claimed that the contract expires October 2021, and they're looking forward to it. So he's looking forward to getting out of the contract, right? So this is what his lawyer's expressing. But then Terence Crawford doubled back and says, I never had any interest in leaving Top Rank. So now you're making your lawyer look like they're incapable of delivering a correct message. You understand? So now the lawyer has a disconnect with Terence Crawford, because the lawyer is saying that they're airing their grievances, including frustration, not securing these big fights. But Terence Crawford is saying that it doesn't matter if these big fights happen or not. It's not up. It doesn't matter. He's not sad about it. He's not mad about it. And he wished them all the best. So which one is it? Do you want these big fights or do you not want these big fights? I'm confused, right? And where Terence Crawford is going with this. So, it just makes it look bad overall on the part of Bob Arum. Bob Arum is frustrated with this situation. Terence Crawford, has been trying to secure a fight with Manny Pacquiao. Let's just go over the history of that, shall we? Since Let's look at this, right? The dates. 2014, July 1st, 2014. Aaron wants to make a match between Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao. This is what he's looking to make happen. This was after Manny Pacquiao fought Timothy Bradley back in July 2014, okay? Then we go to July 23rd of 2016 and 2015. Aaron says he wants to, and trying to secure a Manny Pacquiao-Terence Crawford fight. Manny Pacquiao has agreed. This is 2015. Now we go to 2016. Aaron hoping for a Pacquiao fight versus Crawford in November of 2016. This is after the Thomas Delorme fight. Nothing came of that. Nothing came of it. 2017. Aaron plotting for a Crawford-Pacquiao fight for 2017. For November 5th, if Manny Pacquiao prevails against Jesse Vargas on November 5th and Crawford wins his December 10th plan, the fight is going to be on. This is 2017. The fight still has yet to happen, and we are in 2020 going into 2021, and this is the fight that Terence Crawford is still chasing. Yet, Terence Crawford, is saying that he's tired of chasing the other fighters around. That has been a short saga because he just recently made his started campaign and made his debut at the welterweight division not too long ago. So how are you still in hot pursuit of Manny Pacquiao for 7 years? But the other big fights that are actually just as big, competitive-wise, as Manny Pacquiao fight, actually, it's more competitive with Sean Porter and Terence Crawford than it is Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao. Okay, it's more competitive with these other fights than Manny Pacquiao. He's 41 years old and has been knocked out numerous of times. Okay, so let's just look at this from in its totality. This clearly indicates that you're looking to cash out, and you feel like you could get the biggest cash out that pay with Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao has 7 losses. He's been knocked out 3 times. He has 4 other losses and 2 draws on his resume. Manny Pacquiao is 41 years of age. Manny Pacquiao will be 42 December 17th. So you chasing a guy that's 42 years old with 7 losses. 3 he was knocked out cold. 2 of the 4 he was outclassed. He has 2 draws on his resume. But you're chasing him over what is considered the biggest fight in the sport of boxing. And with Errol Spence, and you're saying, if that happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. It's no skin over my back. But Manny Pacquiao fight is an absolute must. I'm confused. That's all I got for y'all. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.